What's up, my Frame fam? I hope you're all doing spectacular. I'm trying hard to pump out one analysis video featuring my voice at least once a week to help the growth of this channel, so please bear with me as these take considerably more time to make than my usual videos. Now, it's been a while since I've covered the performance of a Switch game, and with the new Animal Crossing game coming out right around the corner, I wanted to get a feel for the Switch again, since it's almost like I've forgotten about it. Full transparency, due to the new COPPA laws, I had planned to originally not cover many Switch games to avoid any issues, to be honest. But I highly doubt a technical analytic video for a Pokemon game would classify as for kids. Now that being said, let's just go ahead and dive right in. First off, I have to say, I'm very impressed with the performance here, but on that note, I'm not too impressed with the graphical fidelity for this game, as I've seen many other Nintendo games look way more appealing and probably perform at a higher frame rate. Then again, this is also the best looking RPG Pokemon game to date, so I'll give credit where credit is due. In docked mode, Pokemon Sword and Shield run at a dynamic 1920 by 1080p resolution with a locked 30 frames per second target. The resolution can dip to a low of 1536 by 864 according to Digital Foundry's analysis of this game. Nonetheless, anyone who is concerned about stability will be hard-pressed to find many issues with the new Pokemon games at all. The vistas are more detailed than ever before in the sense that we actually have vistas to even see, as opposed to earlier Pokemon games prior to the Switch generation. With such a great draw distance as far as foliage and buildings are concerned, I was worried that maybe the Switch would have some hitches, but it stays at a stable 30 frames per second in part thanks to its dynamic resolution implementation and in all of these carefully camera-angled scenes. That's the power of optimization, but I want to say that's also why they opted for a 30 frames per second experience here instead of 60, which Nintendo has been trying to maintain in a lot of their games as of late. You can tell through forced camera angles and with certain details looking better, standing out over others, that performance and fidelity was equally prioritized in this title. For example, tree and bush textures seem to be lower quality in an attempt to help push the larger amounts of highly detailed grass segments throughout the game that are an essential aspect of Pokemon, since that's where the wild Pokemon generate. Meanwhile, character and object details are on par with other great-looking Nintendo games, but a heavy and close draw distance setting is implemented to make up for this as well as far as characters and items are concerned. This draw distance setting is only affected by other characters and items such as Pokeballs, Pokemon, and other trainers though, and this is done to help draw attention away from those obvious compromises to maintain performance. In battle sequences, from what I've seen, the performance holds up just like the rest of the game. The only time I saw dips were during gym leader fights with large amount of particle effects on screen at once, and it was only subtle with no drops less than mid-20s. And also, for some reason, at the beginning of fighting sequences, there's a pretty big heavy dip. I feel that the slower RAM and CPU speeds are to blame, as the game is loading all this logic in suddenly at once, and it's for every single combat scene that this happens. So it's the only thing that makes sense to me. If anybody has any ideas, I'd love to hear it down in the comments. But while playing Pokemon games on the 3DS, I noticed huge amounts of stutter during battle scenes almost always, so I guess it's a win here. While in the larger, more open areas of the games, the draw distance is sacrificed even more so as the camera angle is not fixed and the player can manipulate it freely, leaving less room for optimization and fidelity balance that the developers implement in all of the rest fixed angle positions of the game. And this is also where you notice deeper resolution drops as well to help maintain that stable 30 frames per second target. After my first 6 hours playing this game, I have to say I'm overall pleased with my experience, and the gameplay really helps you lose sight of any graphical imperfections you might normally be distracted by in other titles. The overall prognosis on my end is that this game is actually pretty enjoyable. But that's everything I have for you today. I'm sorry this video was a little bit shorter than most of my analytic videos. There just really wasn't much to talk about here or much content to dive into in terms of performance. It's all pretty standard and repeat after the first hour of the game, so there was only so much I could do in a fixed environment like this. But if you enjoyed this video, remember to pound that like button as it helps make my day, literally. And if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing for more tech content like this in the future. I hope you all have a phenomenal week, and I will see you in the next video.